Practice 36. Tea in Britain. Tea, the most essential of English drinks, is a relative latecomer to British coasts. Although the custom of drinking tea dates back to the Ming dynasty in China, it was not until the mid-17th century that this beverage first appeared in England. However, now Britain has already developed into a tea-drinking nation. Tea was drunk by all levels of society. Every day they drank 165 million cups, and each year around 144,000 tons of tea is imported. According to common practice, people would usually give this type of discussion with an introduction of tea, the evolution of tea, the popularity of tea, or the making of tea. However, today I want to make something different. I would like to focus on the impacts that tea brings to Britain. First and foremost, the appearance of many new words derives from tea. For example, tea break, high tea, tea time, tea party, tea towel, and afternoon tea. Moreover, if someone asks you if you would like a cuppa, they are asking if you would like a cup of tea. If someone says, "Let me be mother," or "Shall I be mother?" they are offering to pour out the tea from the teapot. If something is not quite to your taste, it's probably not your cup of tea. These words and phrases prove the popularity and effect on the English tea. Secondly, the introduction of tea has brought many new recreations, such as tea break, afternoon tea, tea parties, and so forth. Tea breaks, where tea and biscuits are traditionally held at 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Anna is the originator of afternoon tea. She launched the idea of having tea in the late afternoon to bridge the gap between luncheon and dinner. This fashionable custom was soon welcomed by all levels of the society, and this late afternoon repast became the main meal of the day. Thirdly, tea also has an indispensable relationship with coffee houses. Curiously, it was the London coffee houses that were responsible for introducing tea to England. Soon, tea rapidly gained popularity in these establishments, and by 1700 was on sale at more than 500 coffee houses in London. Tea has become the major beverage in coffee houses. As we all know, coffee house is a symbol of London. Exclusively for men, they were called
penny
universities, because for a
penny
any man could obtain a cup of coffee, a copy of the newspaper, and engage in conversation with the sharpest wits of the day. However, something changed after the popularity of tea. The cup of coffee was replaced by cuppa, a cup of tea. Therefore, it is fair to say that tea and coffee house go hand in hand. Finally, tea has always been a powerhouse in the British economy. In 1676, Charles II started to tax tea and required coffee house operators to apply for a license. This was just the start of government attempts to control, or at least to profit from the popularity of tea in Britain. These series of actions are indicative of the popularity of tea and its important role in British business. Tea is not only a driving force in British economy, but also a catalyst in other industries, such as tea gardens, pottery, and tea shops. A tea garden is a place where one can dance and watch fireworks while enjoying a cuppa. Usually, the gardens were opened on Saturday and Sunday, and an afternoon of entertainment and dancing would be highlighted by the serving of tea. Tea shops provided a place where an unchaperoned woman could meet her friends and socialize without damage to her reputation. You might be excused for asking, has tea contributed to the growth of the British pottery industry? Simply this: tea in China was traditionally drunk from cups without handles. When tea became popular in Britain, there was a crying need for good cups with handles. To suit British habits, this led to tremendous growth in the pottery and porcelain industries. All in all, tea has had enormous influence on British people's lives, the English language, and the British economy.
Practice 37. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this talk on human resource management. And today I'm going to take the Shell International, one of the most successful global companies, as an example to look particularly at the importance and effectiveness of the global human resource management. The Shell International is a multinational enterprise with operations in more than 200 countries, and nearly 80% of its operating income derived from business outside its US headquarters. Even though the company is typically perceived as the quintessential global corporation, it likes to think of itself as a multi-local company that just happens to be headquartered in Atlanta, and it could be headquartered anywhere that presents the Shell brand with a local face in every country where it does business. The philosophy is best summarized by the phrase, "Think globally, act locally," which captures the essence of the company's cross-border management mentality. Shell grants national business the freedom to conduct operations in a manner appropriate to the market. At the same time, the company tries to establish a common mindset that all its employees share. Shell manages its global operations through 25 operating divisions that are organized under 6 regional groups. The Corporate Human Resource Management (HRM) function is charged with providing the glue that binds these various divisions and groups into the Shell family. The corporate HRM function achieves this in 2 main ways. First, by propagating a common human resources philosophy within the company, and second, by developing a group of internationally minded mid-level executives for future senior management responsibility. The corporate HRM group sees its mission as one of developing and providing the underlying philosophy around which local business can develop their own human resource practices. For example, rather than carrying out a standard salary policy for all its national operations, Shell has a common salary philosophy. The total compensation package should be competitive with the best companies in the local market. Twice a year, the corporation HRM group also conducts a 2-week HRM orientation session for human resource staff from each of its 25 operating divisions. These sessions give an overview of the company's HRM philosophy and talk about how local business can translate that philosophy into human resource policies. Shell has found that information sharing is one of the great benefits of bringing HRM professionals together. For example, tools that have been developed in Brazil to deal with a specific HRM professional can communicate and learn from each other, which facilitates the rapid transfer of innovative and valuable HRM tools from region to region. As much as possible, Shell chooses to staff its operations with local personnel. To quote one senior executive, "We strive to have a limited number of international people in the field, because generally local people are better equipped to do business at their home location. However, expatriates are needed in the system for two main reasons. One is to fill a need for a specific set of skills that might not exist in a particular location. For instance, when Shell started its operations in Eastern Europe, it had to bring in an expatriate from Chicago to fill the position of finance manager. The second reason for using foreign personnel is to improve the employee's own skill base. Shell believes that, because it's a global company, senior manager should have international exposure. The corporate HRM group has about 500 high-level managers involved in its global service program. Shell characterizes these managers as people who have knowledge of their particular field, plus knowledge of the company, and who can do two things in an international location: add value by expertise they bring to each assignment, and enhance their contribution to the company by having some international experience. Of the 500 participants in the program, about 200 move each year. To ease the costs of transferring these employees, Shell gives those in its global service program a US-based compensation package. They are paid according to US benchmarks, as opposed to the benchmark prevailing in the country in which they are located. Thus, an Indian manager in this program who is working in Britain will be paid according to the US salary benchmarks, but not those in either India or Britain. An ultimate goal of this program is to build a layer of internationally minded, high-level managers from which the future senior manager of Shell will be drawn.
Practice 38. Cheltenham Art Gallery and Museum. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today I am very glad to be here to give you the main introduction of Cheltenham Art Gallery and Museum. To begin with, I will tell you the history about the arts and crafts movement, and later on I will tell you the collections in the museum. First of all, Cheltenham Art Gallery and Museum is one of the most important museums in Britain, which has a nationally important collection on the arts and crafts movement. Spanning the 1880s to about 1940, it was one of the most inspiring and influential art movements to develop in Britain and had an international impact. Then, you may ask, what is the arts and crafts movement? In the following part, I will tell you the knowledge in general. The arts and crafts movement developed in 19th century Britain as a rebellion against the fashion for inventive sham and over-elaborate design, and as an attempt to reverse the growing dehumanization of work in society. It was based on simple forms, truth to materials, and the use of nature as the source of pattern. Young London-based architects were inspired by the ideas of John Ruskin and William Morris. They founded the Art Workers Guild in 1884 to break down barriers between architects, artists, designers and makers. The term arts and crafts was first used at the suggestion of the bookbinder T.J. Cobden Sanderson for its offshoot, the Arts and Crafts Exhibition Society, set up in 1888. The arts and crafts movement was a rebellion of substance as well as style. Its power came from the conviction that art and craft could change people's lives. Its strong social and moral purpose has ensured its continuing relevance. Many guilds and workshops were set up which had a long-lasting impact on communities. The work could be highly decorated, but was often extremely plain. The roughness and simplicity of some work was shocking. One reviewer in 1899 referred to an arts and crafts piece as looking like the work of a savage. However, most pieces show a concern for and understanding of craftsmanship. The bright colours, rich patterns and textures of many pieces are visually stunning. Because ideas about art, work and society were central to the arts and crafts movement, the arts of the book, including calligraphy, typography and bookbinding, were highly valued. For the first time, women took a leading role in a major art movement as designers, makers and consumers. Both the home and women's role in it were elevated, bringing a subversive freshness to architecture and interior decoration. The arts and crafts movement encouraged the involvement of amateurs and students, as well as professionals through organisations such as the Home Arts and Industries Association. Music and drama played a significant part in the movement. Composers such as Ralph Vaughan Williams and Gustav Holst shared the arts and crafts love of the countryside and folk traditions. As part of the movement, Arnold Dolmetsch pioneered the revival of early English music, while Cecil Sharp and others collected traditional folk songs and dances. Theatrical entertainments were an important social aspect of the movement, involving both amateurs and professionals such as Bernard Shaw and John Masefield. The arts and crafts movement had a tremendous influence on the teaching of art, craft, and design through the 20th century, which still survives today. This link is illustrated by contemporary craftwork featuring designers such as Alan Peters and Wales. The Dance of the Seven Drawers, an interactive by Gloucestershire design maker Rodney Force, provides an entertaining introduction to some of the crafts featured in the gallery. Practice 39. Today it is our great honour to have Paddy Kim with us, who is a pioneer in terms of water conservation.
I'm Paddy Kim. First of all, I would like to elaborate what a severe situation we are facing in terms of water shortage. A new study warns us that about 30% of the world's people may not have enough water by the year 2025. The report says lack of water in the future may result in several problems. It may increase health problems. Lack of water often means drinking water not safe. There are problems all over the world because of diseases such as cholera, which are carried in water. Lack of water may also result in more international conflict. Countries may have to compete for water in the future. Some countries now get 60% of their fresh water from other countries. This is true of Egypt, the Netherlands, Cambodia, Syria, Sudan, and Iraq. And the study also points out that lack of water would affect the ability to improve their economies. This is because new industries often need a large amount of water when they are beginning. Therefore, it is necessary and urgent for us to launch water-saving campaign. We could begin it from our daily activities. Whether you're getting ready to take on the morning or just soaking in the shower at the end of a long day, the bathroom can be a retreat from the world, but it's also where over 60% of the water used indoors gets consumed. So, if you'd like to save water and money, the bathroom is a great place to start. Let's take a look. The biggest consumer of water in the bathroom, the toilet. Toilets made before 1993 use up to 8 gallons of water per flush, compared to only 1.6 gallons used by modern fixtures. It's a good idea to replace your pre-1993 toilets if you can. Now, if you're not sure exactly how old your toilet is, well, all you have to do is take the lid off the tank and check out the underside, because usually there is a manufacturing date stamped underneath. Even if you can't replace your toilet right away, you can still save water by using a 1-litre plastic bottle. Just fill the bottle with some pebbles or sand, put the cap back on and place it in your tank, so it reduces the water used with each flush. Believe it or not, plumbing leaks account for about 14% of the water used in the average home. So it's a good idea to check your toilet for leaks. Here is how. Put 5 to 10 drops of food colouring into the tank. Now, put the lid back on, but don't flush. Wait about 15 minutes and check the toilet bowl. If you see food colouring, there is a leak that's wasting water. Well, a steaming hot shower can certainly be relaxing, but it also happens to be the second biggest consumer of water in the bathroom. Showerheads made before 1992 can draw up to 5.5 gallons of water per minute. So check to see if your showerhead is old or new. Simply turn the shower on full blast. Catch all the water in the bucket and wait exactly 2 minutes. If the bucket is overflowing, then the showerhead isn't a low-flow model. New showerheads start at around $10, and installing one that draws 2.5 gallons or less per minute can save you 50% with every shower. Now, faucets also have flow rates, and if you take a look at the screw-on tip called the aerator, that will tell you exactly what the flow rate of your faucet is, and if you suspect that your faucet is a water hog, all you have to do is unscrew the aerator and take it to a hardware store, and match it to a new aerator that's the same size. The most efficient models have flow rates of no higher than 1 gallon per minute. Now, to find the last water-saving device in your bathroom, just look in the mirror. To save water, all you have to do is learn these few easy tricks. You're on your way. When you brush your teeth, turn the faucet off and use a glass of water to rinse. Remember to put trash in the waste basket instead of flushing it away. Skip the bubble bath and take a shower instead. Taking a bath can use up to 7 times more water than a short shower. With a few simple changes right here in the bathroom, you can keep plenty of water and money from going straight down the drain. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Practice 40. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for inviting me to this International Forum on Education. It is a pleasure and honour to be here and have the opportunity to exchange experience and ideas. As people involved in and concerned about education, we share many of the same values and goals. Now I would like to share with you my idea of education in the 21st century. In order to determine what education in the 21st century will look like, it is essential to determine what the 21st century world will look like. We all hear that the world is getting smaller. This simply refers to advances in transportation and telecommunications that allow us to alter our own perception of the world. We can exchange knowledge, ideas, and information almost instantaneously. With advances in international transportation, people and manufactured products can travel between 2 points in far less time than in the past. Thus, in this sense, the world has become smaller. With advances in telecommunications, there is the potential for people to be in instant written, verbal, or visual contact with one another, if they so choose, no matter where they are in the world. Many people argue that it is primarily the technological advances in communications that have made the world smaller and have allowed us to move to a truly global community or global society with a global economy. Fortunately or unfortunately, with the major advances in transportation and communications, no longer can countries live in relative isolation from one another. No longer can individual countries thrive without appropriate interaction and exchanges with other key countries in the world. To not participate in the global community means to be isolated and left behind. One of the key elements for success will be the expanded use of teams. More and more, in both commercial and educational institutions, we can expect to have multinational work teams rather than one-person, individualized work. People from many nationalities will need to learn to work together. Despite their numerous and varied backgrounds, physical, emotional, psychological, political, and religious borders and barriers will need to be lessened or removed in order for the development of successful international teamwork. In past decades, it was an accepted practice to have institutions and organizations operate separately and in isolation of one another. Schools and universities saw themselves more as competitors rather than partners in the teaching process. And never would you expect a university to join forces with a commercial business. But such attitudes and isolated islands of operation must now come to an end. But what will it take for countries to successfully compete in the world scene? Well, they must be able to participate in a knowledge economy. Making and using knowledge will be the key to competition and the development of national wealth and prosperity. But in such an environment, a majority of each country's members must, throughout their work life, continually update and upgrade their knowledge and skills. They must become comfortable in participating in a state of lifelong learning. Education and training at a multitude of levels will be continuously needed. And the bottom line is that there will need to be universal education, the opportunity for all who desire to pursue an education to do so. Connecting international team members through technology helps countries to be able to retain some countries' best human resources. In the past, it was quite common for countries to be able to retain some countries' best human resources. Now, it is quite common for countries to lose their best minds and technical people to the US and other Western countries where salaries were higher and opportunities for advancement were seen to be greater. With the formation of international teams and being connected to technology, experts from a variety of countries can work together without leaving their home. Thus, through the appropriate use of technology, countries can work together. Using technology to connect the world allows a country to become a fully participating, contributing world partner. It allows the exchange of knowledge, expertise, and wisdom. It helps prevent needless replication and duplication brought about by isolation and lack of awareness of what others are doing. But interaction and team building with other members of a global community is not always a simple task. With open learning, or using technology to provide learning opportunities for students outside the traditional classroom, the question is often asked, what is the best technology to use for open learning? The answer to that is, it depends. It depends on many different issues and factors. Most countries have found that there is no one best technology. To provide universal education, they rely on a continuum of technologies or many technologies from which they can pick, choose, and blend depending on their specific needs and preferences. Many open learning institutions will use satellite television, broadcasts, cable transmissions, videotape, CD-ROM, DVD, telephone, fax newspapers, textbooks, the internet, etc., to provide the greatest access to the greatest number of students. In well-thought-out open learning systems, students learn how to participate successfully in teams. When students interact in teams, they learn to listen attentively with an open mind and treat each other's ideas with respect. They also develop the capability of critical thinking and gain the strength and lack of fear to express their own opinions forcefully and succinctly. In the broadest sense, universal education helps people raise their level of contribution to their society. It is achieved in large part through the appropriate use of open learning technology. With universal education comes greater individual participation in the global economy and in international teams.